everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I am back at this different scenery, which I think is exciting to have different sceneries and stuff like that. So this is actually really awesome. But thank you so much for your support, just for being here. And I just want to say just thank you so much for everything. So I actually am going to read a blog post that I made previously. And let's go. Okay, so it's on up here. And it says breakthrough. Get to the root of the symptoms first. This was July 3rd, 2021. Get to the root of the issue, not just the symptoms. Do not just stop the bad or undesirable behavior, but deal with the root of the feelings first. For instance, my goal is to not contact X person. I should not just focus on not contacting that person, the symptom, but deal with why I want to contact the person, the root. To illustrate, I may want to contact that person because I'm currently struggling with insecurity. My life would be better if I had that contact, and my current season is not good. Lack of trust, doubt, jealousy, and or other negative emotions. I need to deal with the emotions behind the action, root, instead of just dealing with the action, symptom. It will make a difference in my prayer life, Bible reading, and striving to find new and next appropriate steps in order to cope with my situation. My mind would tell me that I want to contact X person because before that I used to use that action as a coping mechanism in order to deal with my negative emotions. Therefore, I cannot just listen to what my mind tells me what I want to do and only try to focus on not doing that undesired behavior. I have to find out the underlying conditions, the root for why I want to do that action. Just like going to the doctor, they find out what the symptoms are in order to identify the diagnosis root of that issue. Upon finding out the diagnosis, that is when the treatment methods will be issued. That is when real success can occur. Therefore, I need to deal with the emotions of the symptoms first in order to find out the root of the problem. I need to properly label why I want to do such and such. Get that diagnosis and then find out the proper coping mechanisms in order to treat the diagnosis. Upon that is when I can get to the cure and not engage in the destructive behaviors and undesirable actions. During this process, I can label the emotion, feel the emotion, reframe the thought and patterns that is associated with this emotion, and find healthier behaviors to engage with until the emotion goes away. The key is to identify the symptoms so that healthy behaviors can be properly identified by the root. It's a huge breakthrough in my emotional intelligence and maturity. The key is to incorporate God in the beginning of this process and be brutally honest with God. Sit at His feet, ask for His strength, lean on God, and get open with others before making a decision. Before reaching out to others, it's essential to take this inventory first so that you could best explain what you need for support from others. I think that's really crucial. Like sometimes the people, they're just so quick to just contact other people, but then when people are like, okay, how can I help you, what can I do for you, you don't know because you didn't incorporate that part with God first. And I would say this could be like a 5-minute situation. Like I wouldn't say be stuck too much in your thoughts, because then one thing your thoughts will go from 0 to 100, and then you'll get engaged in that destructive behavior. I'll say even like a minute, saying, God, please help me to get to the root of what's going on. Okay, I'm lonely, I'm bored. Okay, when I contact someone saying, hey, do you have scriptures on boredom? Do you have scriptures on lonely? Like, how do you cope with your loneliness, or how do you cope with your boredomness? Like, what do you do instead? What behaviors do you do instead? Can we pray together right now? Like, having that type of, but just taking that time with God first so that we can be able to come to people and ask for help properly, and not just come and don't know what to do, because by the time you get off that phone call or that time with that time in person, and you didn't figure out what was wrong, that urge may still be there, and then you just may engage in that behavior. So it's important. So it says before reaching out to others, it's essential to take that inventory first so that you can best explain what you need for support from others. Grab that Bible and find the verses that deal with the symptoms of the desires. Use God's truth to destroy the destructive thinking patterns. Most of the time, dealing with the root of the symptoms will diminish the need to want to engage of unhealthy behaviors. That is so true. That is where true success lies at. Do not engage in that behavior, but take an honest inventory and get to the root first. Pour your heart out to God and trust God during this process because it's not easy. It takes a lot of patience, perseverance, dedication, patience, and loyalty to God and yourself in order to master this. I'm actively working on this as well. You got this, everyone. I hope that this is helpful. So this is actually really, really important to me because it happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, I was like, okay, you know, Aisha, you had enough snacks, and I was just like, no, you're just gonna feed your spirit. You're gonna be outwardly focused, and I actually got through it. Now, was it easy? No, because I was huffing and puffing, and I was like not really in the best mood. Actually, it's so funny because we had a Bible discussion yesterday with my church, and I was telling the ladies that I was like, I was basically like trying not to engage in this behavior, and I was like huffing and puffing the whole time. But the good thing is that I got through it, and it would have been it was a lot better to get through the uncomfortable emotions first than me giving, because I would have had a lot of regret. I would have worried. I would have had a lot of negative emotions after. So like the root of the matter wasn't that I wanted to overeat. The root of the matter was that was a symptom. But the root of the matter was that I was bored and I just wanted to fill a void, and I was feeling like my life wasn't really having a sense of purpose, and I was just like struggling with like FOMO, and I was like struggling with like feeling like I'm missing out. So I just wanted to just eat my feelings. So if I just focused the whole time like, okay, Aisha, you just don't want to overeat, then it would have made the process much more unbearable. But me just taking the time to say, you know, Dad, I'm gonna just feed my spirit, I'm gonna just spend time with you, and I'm going to find a much more healthier way to cope with that emotion. That's what it was. So if I would just focus on like not eating, it wouldn't have really helped the process. I had to really see why I wanted to overeat, why I wanted to come to this food, and not judge myself, because I learned that sin is when you engage in a legitimate need in an illegitimate way. So a lot of times when I want to give into my sin, I have a legitimate need. And I need to find out what that need is and come to the Lord only for that. So when I want to people please or not engage into an argument, it's because I'm feeling a lot that day and I don't want to engage into an argument. So that is a legitimate need. But choosing to not suffer for righteousness is illegitimate. I can still acknowledge my feelings of tired and a low emotional battery and still say, okay, God, but I'm still going to stand up for righteousness. Because guess what? When I do that and I know that I obey God and I put God first, that emotional battery does fill up again. So I took that legitimate need of my empty emotional battery and I made it legitimate by putting God first and taking that boldness and that courageous step towards righteousness, and I got my emotional cup filled back. So I just want to encourage you. I really, really like this blog post. I think I was a little bit wordy and I could have worded things a little bit better, to be honest with you, but I actually really love the thought, and I love that it's important to identify the symptom and to feel that, but to get to that root, so that way it won't be such a stronghold. It may still be a struggle. I'm not going to say the struggle will go away, but you will understand that at the end of the day, the goal is not the sin. The goal is fulfilling that legitimate need, that illegitimate sin wants to fill that legitimate need, and that there are other ways to fill that legitimate need with God. And like I told someone yesterday, they say that this does not work, and I definitely want to encourage you that if you seek first the kingdom and you seek first God's righteousness, all these things will be added to you, and I definitely want to encourage you all, with this verse that I actually read when I was at my Bible discussion yesterday, and it just really, 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 really was enlightening. So I'm going to read it right now, and it says, Hebrews 5:7-9. During the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with fervent cries and the tears to the one who could save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverent submission. Son though he was, he learned obedience from what he has suffered. And once made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all those who obey him. And that's basically it, you guys. We can learn obedience from what we suffer. And when we choose to suffer for righteousness, we will have our legitimate needs be filled. So just thank you so much, you guys. Have a wonderful day, and bye for now.